Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. Now, former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak is finally behind bars for his role in orchestrating one of the world's biggest corruption scandals. Now, millions of Malaysians breathed a collective sigh of relief after the country's top court upheld Najib's 12-year prison sentence and a $47 billion fine for stealing billions from State Investment Fund 1MDB. Now, despite the guilty verdict, Najib still had his fair share of supporters. And as you can see from these pictures, many waited for him outside the courthouse on Tuesday. The landmark ruling culminates a years-long effort by anti-graft activists. 1MDB was founded and controlled by Najib during his time as PM. Just before he was brought to prison, Najib once again proclaimed his innocence.
I tried to fight the allegations with all that I could, but everything I proposed to the court was rejected. I did not get my justice, and I didn't get a fair trial.
Now, Najib is the first former Malaysian Prime Minister to be sent to prison. He founded 1MDB in 2009, the year he became PM. Now, the fund was meant to attract foreign investment and development in Malaysia, but prosecutors say Najib and his cronies used it as their personal piggy bank, stealing a total of $4.5 billion from it. More than $1 billion have been traced to accounts linked to Najib. Officials say the money was used by Najib and his allies for bribes, luxury yachts, fine art, and ironically, even funding for the Martin Scorsese movie The Wolf of Wall Street.
1MDB has sparked embezzlement and money laundering investigations across at least 10 countries and a search for an enormous pile of missing money. The fund's early initiatives included buying privately owned power plants and planning a new financial district in Kuala Lumpur. But 1MDB proved better at borrowing than attracting investment, ultimately finding itself $12 billion in debt. Investigators have been trying to find out how money flowed through and around the fund and illegally into personal accounts. The US Justice Department says more than $4.5 billion moved through a complex web of transactions and fraudulent shell companies. The Swiss say up to $7 billion passed through 1MDB and one of its units. Fugitive Malaysian financier Joe Low is in hiding, accused of leading a small group which diverted money into personal accounts, designed to look like legitimate businesses. Some of that cash is thought to have been used as kickbacks to officials, including Najib and his allies.
Speaking of Najib and his allies, the former premier has built up quite the support base thanks to his thriving social media presence, where he has millions of followers on Instagram and Twitter. Hundreds of fans came out to support Najib on Tuesday. Now, many weren't expecting him to actually be put behind bars, given that he comes from an iconic political dynasty. He was groomed for the premiership from a young age, having been educated in the UK. He's the son of one of Malaysia's founding fathers, and his dad was the country's second PM, while his uncle was the third. Najib was voted out of power in 2018 amid public anger over 1MDB. One of the phrases that was trending on social media after Najib's verdict was "Road to Sungai Buloh." So Sungai Buloh is a neighborhood near the capital where there's a large prison. Now, it was widely expected that Najib would be sent there. After all, another high-profile politician, Anwar Ibrahim, served out a jail sentence there a few years ago. Now, Najib was eventually sent to another prison, but that didn't stop tons of memes on Sungai Buloh. Now, this one references the metro announcement that you hear on the way to the area. You know, the one that goes, "Next station."
Stesen berikutnya, Sungai Buloh. Dan stesen terakhir, next station, Sungai Buloh. And final station.
As I mentioned earlier, a lot of Malaysians expressed relief with Tuesday's ruling and took to social media to share their thoughts. Amir Abdul Hadi from the political party, the Malaysian United Democratic Alliance, tweeted photos of his arrest at a 2015 protest against Najib. He says in Malay that justice has finally been served. And journalist Erna Mayuni sums up what many citizens are going through today at the office, tweeting, "Malaysians everywhere in solidarity, pretending to work." Now, this netizen echoed that sentiment, saying she can't stop checking Twitter because it's a rare moment that you see a real villain in the country get what he deserves. Artist and activist Fahmi Reza, who was previously jailed for caricatures of Najib, tweets in Malay that the verdict is a victory for Malaysians in the fight against corruption. And this lawyer says, remember, if Malaysians didn't vote Najib out in 2018, it's unlikely the guilty verdict would have been upheld. Remember, power of the people. Reports are coming from CNN and the Washington Post that Twitter has major security problems that pose a threat to users' personal information, to shareholders, and even national security. Now, this is a cover letter from the lawyers representing a whistleblower who say was Twitter's former head of security reporting to the CEO. Apparently, he sent a disclosure last month to Congress and federal agencies. CNN uses words such as chaotic environment, a mismanaged company, and sensitive information handled without adequate oversight. It also claims Twitter's senior management has been trying to cover up its vulnerabilities. We'll have more on this on Wednesday's program. And then there's the continuing saga of Musk versus Twitter. Now, the latest twist sees Elon Musk's team subpoenaing Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey. This means Musk's attorneys are seeking documents and communications from Dorsey to see how Twitter detects fake accounts and counts its active users. In other words, it's all related to the number of Twitter's bot and spam accounts, the main argument Musk's team has put forward to get out of having to buy Twitter for $44 billion. Twitter and Musk are preparing for the court battle that will start on October 17th in Delaware. Musk is claiming that Twitter defrauded him by hiding the actual number of fake accounts. Twitter denies this and claims bots make up less than 5% of all users. Twitter claims the main reason why Musk wants out is buyer's remorse. Of course, Twitter's legal team is also preparing for the trial. Earlier this month, they subpoenaed documents from people close to Elon and potential financiers to make a case about how he changed his mind. Needless to say, social media is also gearing up for this showdown. Dan here says he wishes the case would be televised just like the Depp Heard trial. Others are overwhelmingly of the opinion that Musk would be probably forced to complete the purchase as a result of the court case. The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, has sued to prevent the government from reviewing seized files from his Mar-a-Lago house in Florida. Now, he's being investigated for mishandling presidential documents. Now, when a U.S. president's term ends, they must hand over all official documents and emails to a government agency called the National Archive. The FBI is investigating whether Trump improperly took any documents from the White House when he left office in January 2021. Now, Trump denies all the accusations. He says the items he does have were declassified. And his legal team accuses the Justice Department of, and these are their words, an attempt to put the camel's nose under the tent. Basically, so they could rummage around for any secret documents that Trump shouldn't be in possession of. Basically, trying to prevent the former president from trying to get back into office. So Trump is claiming presidential immunity. But is that a legitimate argument when he's no longer holds the highest office in the land? Now, remember, after the January 6 riots, Trump's legal team did argue that he can't be sued for allegedly inciting the Capitol riots because he had presidential immunity. But he was still president then. And this investigation is about his actions after he left office. So can he really claim immunity still? Let me break it down. According to a 1982 bill, the American president has absolute immunity from civil litigation from official acts undertaken during their term. But in 2020, the Supreme Court decided that the president is subject to subpoenas in criminal prosecutions for personal conduct with the same legal threshold as anyone else. That means, on paper, Trump's chances don't look good. However, some analysts say he might try his luck with members of Congress to write a law that says he should have some kind of an immunity as a former president. But in that case, the decision would be approved by the current president, Joe Biden. Curiouser and curiouser. But all this controversy surrounding Trump is doing him no harm whatsoever. In fact, it appears his popularity is growing, and not only amongst his core base. And now he's made his strongest hint that he'll be running for president again in 2024. According to a poll by NBC News, Trump has gained more support from Republicans after the FBI investigation. The poll shows the number of his Republican supporters rose to 41%. That's a 7-point increase since May. And another survey by St. Alsam College in New Hampshire suggests similar results. Electric car company Tesla has been the subject of an unusual experiment. North Carolina resident Carmine Kupani shared a video on social media where he's testing out Tesla's new fully self-driving beta software on his child. Literally, he drove a Tesla Model X towards his 11-year-old son to see if the car would stop without hitting him. Thankfully, the Model X stopped and the child didn't get hurt. The video was later removed from his profile, and Kupani said it was not a test, but a demonstration. Shaking my head now. Well, at the beginning of this year, Tesla CEO Elon Musk made a huge promise saying that by the end of 2022, all cars manufactured by Tesla would be fully autonomous. While being pretty confident that he could keep his promise, the billionaire entrepreneur claimed that the self-driving tech would be even safer than a human. During a speech in January, to show that he meant business, Musk launched new beta software that equips Tesla cars with special features like traffic and stop sign control, auto lane change, and auto park. This actually was what Carmine Kupani was putting to the test. But there are occasions where these high-tech machines don't exactly operate properly and cause accidents, even fatal ones. Over a dozen accidents involving Tesla cars have been recorded in the last 4 years in the US, leading federal regulators to investigate the car's autopilot function. The investigation currently covers models Y, X, S, and 3. That's a whopping 830,000 wheels sold. In the 16 accidents reported between January 2018 and January 2022, one person was killed and 15 people injured. Fully autonomous vehicles still have a long way to convince people they are entirely safe. In Greek mythology, Artemis is the goddess of wild animals and the hunt. The Huntress is also the name of NASA's latest project that could see the first woman and person of color stepping onto the moon. The Artemis mission will explore more of the lunar surface than ever before. An unmanned test run for the moon mission has officially started its countdown set for August 29th. This rocket is being moved into position where it will lift off from the same launch pad used by the Apollo 10 mission in 1969. After blastoff, it will circle the moon before heading home to Earth. Nope, that's not an ancient incantation that you just heard. That's the sound of a black hole. Spooky, I know. So NASA shared this tweet with that sound, and it breaks the misconception that there is no sound in space. I mean, sure, maybe it's not all quiet, but this? According to NASA's tweet, this galaxy cluster has so much gas that it makes an actual sound, and voila, the sound of a black hole that's 250 million light years away from us. Let's listen to it again. Not gonna lie, that was pretty spooky. But this isn't. Another thing NASA has dropped are these never-before-seen images of the planet Jupiter. The storms, moon, and surrounding rings of the biggest planet of our solar system were taken in July. Images from the James Webb Space Telescope show in superb detail the Great Red Spot, which is a storm big enough to swallow the Earth. NASA says thanks to these new images, we'll have more information about Jupiter. It's not hard to understand when your puppy is happy, right? The way it wags its tail and jumps around like it's just won the lottery. But did you know that dogs also shed a tear or two of happiness when they reunite with their owners? Well, this is the first time scientists have found a relation between happy tears and emotions in animals. The Japanese scientist behind this breakthrough, Takafumi Kikusui, says dogs shed tears associated with positive emotions. And now I'm the one holding back tears of joy, obviously. And that brings us to the end of today's newsfeed. Find the show on our YouTube channel and do subscribe. Bye and see you same time tomorrow.